The sky burned with colors that did not belong to nature. Blue lightning clashed with red plasma as the Virilan capital world crumbled under fire. The once beautiful floating cities now fell into the oceans below, their crystal spires shattering into waves of light and smoke. Commander Elias Grant watched the chaos from his ship, the Resolute. His hands were steady, but his heart was heavy. He had seen too many worlds end like this, too many lives lost for pride, territory, or fear. The Virelans were not like humans, but they had families, homes, and dreams just the same. "Commander," said his second officer, Lieutenant Mara, "orders from Fleet Command. We are to withdraw. No rescue attempts. Planet is classified as lost." Elias stared at the screen. Flames, debris, and desperate distress signals filled the radar. He could hear the static cries of thousands calling for help in languages the translator could barely understand. "Lost?" he repeated softly. "There are still people down there." Mara hesitated. "Sir, we have no clearance to enter the atmosphere. The Virelans fired on us last week." "I remember," he said, cutting her off. "And yet I also remember their queen broadcasting a surrender call 2 days ago." No one answered her. He looked again at the planet below, his jaw tightening. "Prep a landing team." "Sir? That's a direct violation of—" "Then it'll be my violation." Without another word, he left the command bridge. The shuttle broke through the storm clouds, entering the heart of destruction. The capital city of GalacticPrime lay in ruins. The air shimmered with radiation and smoke, and strange alien energy arced across the broken towers. The landing thrusters whined as Elias brought the shuttle down in what used to be the Royal District. The moment they touched the ground, the crew's scanners came alive with movement. Virelan civilians were trapped beneath collapsed bridges and broken airships. Elias and his team moved quickly. He ordered the medics to help whoever they could. No questions, no sides. Some of the insectoid Virelans hissed in confusion at the humans, but when they saw the rescuers lift their wounded instead of killing them, their panic softened into disbelief. "Keep moving," Elias shouted, carrying a small Virelan child from the rubble. The child's translucent wings were torn and its glowing eyes dimmed. "You're safe now. Stay with me." Then a sound shook the ground, a deep rumble from the direction of the palace. One of the officers pointed. "Sir!" That explosion came from the Citadel. Elias's instincts kicked in. The Citadel was where the Queen was rumored to be hiding. If she died, this war might never truly end. "Everyone else, keep rescuing the civilians," he ordered. "I'll check the palace." "Commander, that's suicide." He smiled faintly. "Then I'll make it quick." The Citadel was a mountain of shattered glass and black metal. Strange green fires burned inside, and the air buzzed with electrical storms. Elias pushed through the wreckage, his rifle ready. Bodies of royal guards lay scattered across the floor. Some Virelan, some unknown. He stepped carefully over them, his boots echoing softly in the hollow silence. Then he heard it. A faint, steady breath. Elias followed the sound to a collapsed throne room, where a massive pillar had fallen across the dais. Underneath it lay a tall, elegant figure, her violet armor cracked, her wings torn and blackened by heat. She was unmistakable, the Virelan Queen Zarethi of the Nine Suns. Her silver eyes fluttered open as Elias approached. Even wounded, she looked powerful, her voice calm despite the pain. "A human?" she whispered. "Come to finish what your kind began?" Elias shook his head. "No, I came to save anyone still breathing." A weak, amused sound escaped her. Strange words. From a conqueror. "Not a conqueror," he said, placing his rifle aside. "A soldier. And soldiers get tired of killing." He tried to lift the pillar, but it was too heavy. Using his exosuit's boosters, he adjusted the energy load and pushed harder. The metal screamed, then shifted just enough for her to pull free. The Queen collapsed forward and Elias caught her. Her body was light but trembling. "You should have left me," she murmured. "Your people would praise you more for my death." Elias glanced around the ruined hall. "Maybe, but I'd rather be praised by my conscience than my commanders." She looked up at him then, truly seeing him for the first time. Not as an enemy, but as something unexpected. "There is honor in your kind after all," she said softly. "Few of my own would risk this much for another." Before he could reply, the ceiling groaned. Energy blasts tore through the far wall. Enemy drones, still loyal to the old warlords, scanning for survivors. "Stay low," Elias ordered. He grabbed his rifle and took position. The drones fired streams of plasma, lighting the room like a storm. Elias returned fire with precision, taking down one after another. His armor shield cracked under the barrage, but he didn't stop. When his rifle overheated, he pulled his sidearm, using every last charge until the drones finally fell silent. Smoke filled the air. His visor displayed warning after warning. Heat levels critical, oxygen low. He turned to find the Queen watching him, her face unreadable. "You would die for me?" she asked quietly. He shrugged. "If it means ending one more war, yeah, I'd take that deal." She touched the side of his helmet gently, her claws careful not to pierce it. "You have given me something rare among your species. Mercy. Guess it's contagious," he said with a small smile. She gave a faint laugh, a sound almost like wind chimes. "Perhaps it is." By the time the rescue team arrived, Elias had carried the Queen outside on his back. The remaining Virelan guards surrounded them, their weapons raised. "Stand down," one of the guards hissed. "You dare touch the Queen," but Zarethi raised her hand weakly. "Lower your weapons." "He saved my life." The guards hesitated, confused. "But he's human." "Then perhaps it is time," she said. "We remember that mercy is not owned by any one race." Elias nodded to his team. "Get her to the shuttle, carefully." As the engines roared to life, the Queen looked out at her dying city. Her expression was calm, but her eyes shone with unspoken sorrow. "My kingdom is gone," she whispered. "Not gone," Elias said quietly. "Just waiting to be rebuilt. You'll see." She turned to him, studying his human face beneath the helmet's visor. "Why would you care what becomes of my people?" "Because," he said simply. "Someone has to." The Queen looked away, hiding a faint glimmer of emotion. In all her years of ruling, through war, betrayal, and blood, no one had ever spoken to her like that. When the shuttle reached orbit, the planet below continued to burn. Yet for the first time in years, the Queen felt a fragile thread of hope. The war might have destroyed her empire, but something new had been born in its ashes. A single act of compassion that could change everything. And as Elias sat in silence beside her, the stars reflected in his tired eyes. Neither of them knew that this single rescue would begin a story written not in conquest, but in trust, a story that would bind two worlds forever. The Virelan world slowly began to heal after the flames of war faded. Towering cities lay in ruins, but their people had not given up. Under the pale twin suns, survivors built shelters from the broken remains of their homes. And at the center of it all stood the Royal Medical Dome, where the wounded Queen Zarethi was being kept alive. Commander Elias Grant stood quietly by her bedside. It had been 3 days since the battle, but his armor still bore scorch marks from the drone's plasma. He had refused medical leave, choosing instead to stay near the Queen until she fully recovered. The Virelan doctors, tall, thin creatures with shining carapaces, worked in silence, occasionally giving Elias uncertain looks. He was the only human allowed inside the healing chamber, and no one quite understood why the Queen had asked for him. Finally, her silver eyes opened. "You are still here," she said softly, her voice echoing slightly through the chamber's glass walls. "I don't leave people behind," Elias replied. "You were hurt." "I wasn't going to walk away," the Queen smiled faintly. "You speak as if all humans are bound by honor, but I have seen your kind's cruelty in battle." Elias nodded. "You're not wrong. Humans can be cruel, but they can also choose not to be." Zarethi looked at him with quiet curiosity. "And you, Elias Grant, what choice do you follow?" He shrugged. "The one that lets me sleep at night." She studied him for a long moment. Her people had always described humans as reckless and cold, but this man was different, calm, honest, and strangely gentle. Perhaps too gentle for war. When the healers left them alone, Zarethi motioned for Elias to step closer. "Our customs demand that I repay the debt of life you gave me," she said. "Among my people, such a debt cannot remain unpaid." Elias frowned. "You don't owe me anything, Your Majesty. I didn't do it for reward." "That is why it must be repaid," she answered. "You saved not only me but the hope of my people. To our laws, that demands a gift of equal weight." "I don't understand," Elias said carefully. "What kind of gift?" The Queen's expression softened. "You will see soon enough." 2 days later, the Virelan High Council gathered in the ancient Hall of Suns. a dome of mirrored glass that reflected the skies above. The great seats of the council were filled with alien nobles, each one shimmering with unique colors and markings. They whispered in low, buzzing tones as Elias entered, escorted by 2 royal guards. At the center, Queen Zarethi stood tall, her wounds mostly healed. Her royal armor gleamed once again, though her movements were slower than before. She raised her staff. The hall fell silent. "Today," she said, "we honor a life debt that binds our people to humanity. A human saved the Queen of Varela when all others abandoned her. He risked his life not for power, not for glory, but for compassion. Such an act cannot go unacknowledged." A deep murmur filled the hall. Some Varelans looked doubtful, even angry. A few hissed quietly, their wings trembling. Elias stood straight, unsure what to expect. Zarethi continued, "By the ancient laws of my ancestors, the one who saves the royal bloodline becomes part of it. And so I offer what my crown can give, the future itself." The tall golden doors behind her opened. A young figure entered, slender, graceful, with crystal blue eyes and soft silver wings. Her presence filled the hall with quiet light. "This," said the queen, "is my daughter, Princess Caroline.
She is my heir."
From this day she is bound by oath to the one who saved her mother's life." Gasps echoed through the chamber. The council members rose from their seats in protest. "Impossible," shouted one of the elders. "A human cannot share royal blood." "It breaks our oldest laws," cried another. But the queen lifted her hand, silencing them. "It does not break them. It fulfills them. The debt must be balanced, and this is the balance I choose." She turned toward Elias, who stood speechless. "Do you accept this bond, Commander Grant?" Elias took a deep breath. "Your Majesty, I don't think I can. I didn't save you to gain anything, especially not a title, or someone's daughter." Saraline stepped forward, her expression calm but curious. "Then accept it not as a gift but as a bridge," she said softly. "Our people have hated each other for too long. My mother believes we can change that." Her voice was gentle, musical, almost human in its warmth. Elias met her eyes. "You're serious about this?" Saraline nodded. "Yes, it is more than tradition. It is trust," the queen smiled. "You see, Commander, my daughter understands. She will learn from you, as you will learn from her. Together you may find a way for our worlds to stand side by side instead of apart." Elias looked between mother and daughter. He had seen death, war, and destruction, but never such faith placed in a single human. "If this helps build peace," he said finally, "then I accept. But only as an ally, not as an owner." Zarethi bowed her head. "That is all I ask." That night, the ceremony continued under the glowing twin moons. The queen placed a small crystal band on Elias's wrist, a mark of unity. Saraline wore a matching one around her own. "To my people," the queen declared, "this mark means alliance. To humans it may mean friendship. To me it means hope." The crowd was silent. Some bowed, others turned away, but the words of the queen would echo through the generations. After the ceremony, Elias and Saraline walked outside the palace. The night was filled with distant stars and the soft hum of Virelon wings overhead. "You don't have to thank me," Elias said quietly. "I still don't understand why your mother did this." Saraline smiled faintly. "You saved her. To her that means you saved me too. And in our culture, life must continue the circle." He glanced at her. "And what do you think?" She looked up at the sky. "I think the circle is only the beginning. My people fear humans because they don't understand them. But I've watched you. You didn't fight for glory. You fought to protect life even when it wasn't yours. That's something my kind needs to learn." Elias gave a small chuckle. "And humans could learn a lot from yours too." They stood in silence for a moment. The twin moons reflected in the water around the palace ruins, painting everything in soft silver light. The following morning, the human fleet sent a transport to retrieve Elias. Orders from Earth Command had arrived. They wanted him back immediately. Rumors of his alliance with the alien queen had already spread through human channels. When he told the queen he had to leave, she only smiled. "Then go, Commander Grant. You have fulfilled your duty here. But remember, peace is not built by orders. It is built by choices." Saraline stood beside her mother. "And our choice is to trust you," she said. Elias nodded. "I'll do my best not to break that trust." Before he left, the queen held out a small sphere of crystal light. "This is a royal beacon," she said. "It will guide you to us wherever you are. Should your people ever need us, or should you ever wish to return, follow its light." Elias accepted it respectfully. "Thank you, Your Majesty." As he stepped onto the transport, Saraline called out to him, "Commander, will I see you again?" He paused and turned back. "If peace depends on it," he said with a faint smile, "then yes, you will." The shuttle lifted into the sky, engines blazing softly as it rose through the golden clouds. The Queen and her daughter watched until it vanished among the stars. Zarethi spoke quietly to Saraline. "My child, the bridge has been built. Now it is you who must walk across it." Saraline looked at the sky where the shuttle had gone. Her heart was steady, but her thoughts were restless. She did not yet understand what fate awaited her, but she felt that her path and humanity's had only just begun. The silver clouds of Luna Prime shimmered like ice as Commander Elias Grant's shuttle descended through the capital's skylanes. The city below was a masterpiece of glass towers, glowing streets and calm blue lights stretching as far as the eye could see. Humanity's capital world was peaceful again, at least on the surface. Inside the shuttle, Princess Saraline sat quietly beside Elias. Her wings were folded close to her back, hidden beneath a long hooded cloak. To the humans on Luna Prime, she would be the first Virellan royal to ever set foot on their world, and not everyone was happy about that. Elias could feel the tension even before landing. The Human Alliance Council had called him back urgently, demanding an explanation for his unapproved political involvement with the alien queen. He expected trouble. He just didn't expect it to come so fast. The moment they stepped out, a crowd of reporters surrounded them. Cameras flashed, drones hovered, and voices shouted over one another. "Commander Grant, did you really form a royal bond with the alien queen? Is it true she gave you her daughter as tribute? Princess, are you here to spy for the Virellans?" Saraline flinched at the noise, her large eyes wide and uncertain. Elias immediately stepped in front of her, raising a hand. "No questions today. Move back." Guards escorted them through the corridor to the council hall, a wide circular chamber filled with holographic banners of every human colony. The councilors sat in their high seats, their faces stern. At the center, Chancellor Roth Marin, an old man with sharp eyes, stood. "Commander Grant," he began coldly, "you were ordered to withdraw from the Virellan system. Instead you landed, interfered with a foreign government, and returned with their princess." Elias stood straight. "With respect, sir, I didn't interfere. I saved lives, including the Queen's. The Virellans offered peace, and I accepted on behalf of humanity." The Chancellor's voice hardened. "You are not authorized to speak for humanity." "Maybe not," Elias said quietly, "but sometimes peace can't wait for authorization," the council murmured. Some members looked thoughtful, others angry. Finally, one of them turned to Saraline. "Princess of Virella," he said carefully, "why have you come to our world?" Saraline stood tall, her voice calm. "To honor my mother's promise. My people seek peace. We wish to learn your ways and to share ours." Her words echoed softly across the chamber, but another counselor sneered. "How do we know this isn't a trick? Your people could be using this bond as a way to spy on our defenses." Saraline's wings trembled slightly beneath her cloak. She looked to Elias, uncertain how to respond. Elias stepped forward. "If anyone here is guilty of breaking orders, it's me, not her. She came in good faith. If you punish someone, punish me." The Chancellor studied him in silence, then said, "Very well. Commander Grant, you are relieved of duty until further notice. The princess will remain under supervision here on Luna Prime until we decide what to do." Saraline looked surprised. "Under supervision?" Elias turned to her, his expression gentle. "It means they'll keep you safe and watch you closely." "I see," she said softly. Weeks passed. Saraline was given a private suite in the diplomatic wing, large, elegant, and completely surrounded by guards. She spent her days learning about human culture, art, science, languages, and music. But even surrounded by beauty, she often felt like a bird in a golden cage. Elias visited whenever he could. Though suspended from duty, he spent his time helping with peace reports and studying Virellan technology. One evening, as the artificial sunset painted the sky pink, he found Saraline sitting by the glass window, watching the lights of the city below. "Still awake?" he asked softly. She smiled faintly. "Virellans do not sleep much. We dream while awake." Elias sat beside her. You've been quiet lately. Something on your mind? She turned to him, her eyes glowing softly in the dim light. Your people. They stare at me as if I am something strange. Some fear me. Some mock me. A few are kind, but only from a distance. Is peace truly what they want? Elias sighed. Humans fear what they don't understand. But fear can change, just like we do. Give them time, she tilted her head. And what of you, Elias Grant? Do you fear us? He looked at her and smiled slightly. I used to. Now I just wonder what we might learn from each other. Her wings unfolded a little, shimmering faintly like silver glass. You risked everything to save my mother. Now you risk your name to protect me. Why? Because it's right, he said simply. And because maybe one day people will remember this moment, the time a human and a Virilan chose trust over fear. For a long moment, neither spoke. The soft hum of the city filled the silence between them. As days turned to months, Saraline's influence quietly grew. She began advising human scientists on bioengineering, teaching them about Virilan crystal technology, energy that grew naturally from living organisms. The humans were amazed. Soon her knowledge was helping power small colonies more efficiently than ever before. The council could not ignore her success. One morning, Chancellor Marin requested both Elias and Saraline to appear before them again. Princess Saraline, the Chancellor said, your guidance has benefited our colonies greatly. You have shown good faith, Saraline bowed gracefully. I only wish to repay the kindness shown to my mother and my people. Marin nodded slowly. And Commander Grant, you've proven your loyalty even without your uniform. We are considering lifting your suspension. Elias gave a small smile. That's good to hear. The Chancellor continued, however, we must ask something. The Council believes Princess Saraline should remain on Luna Prime permanently, as a symbol of unity between our worlds. It would strengthen the peace. Saraline blinked in surprise. You wish me to stay here? Forever? It is for the greater good, the Chancellor said firmly. Your presence will assure your people's cooperation. Elias frowned. You can't keep her here like a hostage. This is not imprisonment, the Chancellor replied. It's diplomacy. Saraline's voice was quiet but steady. And my choice? Does it matter? The room fell silent. Elias stood straighter, his eyes cold. She's not property. She's a sovereign princess. You can't decide her life for her. The Chancellor met his gaze. Then speak for her, Commander. What do you suggest? Elias looked at Saraline. I suggest we trust her to choose her own path, the Council whispered among themselves. Finally, the Chancellor sighed. Very well. The princess may decide where she will live, but under protection. Saraline bowed. Then I choose to return with Elias. I will see more of humanity, not just its walls. Elias tried to hide his surprise. You sure? She smiled softly. You said peace begins with choices. This is mine. Soon after, they left Luna Prime together aboard a small diplomatic vessel. Their mission? To visit the frontier colonies and teach cooperation between humans and Virelans. On one quiet night during their journey, Saraline stood on the observation deck watching the stars streak by. Elias joined her, holding 2 cups of warm synth tea. I never thought I'd be a teacher, he said with a chuckle. And I never thought I'd leave my world, she replied. But perhaps peace always begins with strange things. Elias leaned on the railing. You're changing minds, you know. People talk. They see you not as an enemy anymore, but as hope. Saraline looked at him. And you, Elias Grant, what are you to them? He smiled faintly. Probably a fool. Then may the galaxy have more fools like you, she said kindly. They both laughed softly. The sound echoed against the quiet hum of the ship. Back on Luna Prime, however, not everyone was pleased. Some politicians feared that the growing bond between human and alien could threaten old power structures. Whispers spread in secret chambers and about controlling the alliance before it grew too strong. But for now, aboard their small ship crossing the endless stars, neither Elias nor Saraline knew of the storm building behind them. They only knew that, for the first time, 2 civilizations were learning to trust, and somewhere deep inside, both began to realize that peace was not just about treaties. It was about understanding hearts that once stood on opposite sides of a battlefield. The twin suns of Virella hung low over the horizon, casting long silver-gold shadows across the palace ruins. The air was thick with heat and the smell of ozone, a reminder that peace was still fragile in this once great empire. Elias Grant piloted the small diplomatic ship through the outer orbital defenses, keeping an eye on sensors and scanners. Beside him, Princess Saraline studied a holographic map of the capital city. "Rebels are forming again," she said softly, pointing at red blips moving through the lower districts. "Not all of my people accept the peace my mother created." Elias nodded. "We'll have to be careful. Any false move and the fragile unity we've built could collapse." Saraline's wings twitched nervously. "I never thought I would return here. After everything that happened, Mother." "She's not well." Elias glanced at her. "You mean she's dying?" The princess closed her eyes, holding back emotion. "Yes, and there is no time to waste. She asked for us, both of us." They landed in the central palace courtyard, now a mixture of rebuilding structures and scorched stone. Virellan soldiers, some loyal to the crown and others to rogue factions, stood tensely around the area. At the center, Queen Zarethi awaited them in the royal chamber. Her armor was polished, but the once vivid colors of her wings had dulled. Her silver eyes, however, still shone with the same commanding presence Elias had first seen months ago. "My child," she said to Saraline, her voice barely above a whisper. "You have returned." Saraline bowed. "I am here, Mother." "And Commander Grant?" She gestured to Elias. Zarethi nodded faintly. "Yes, he has my blessing to stand at your side. I have lived long enough to see that trust can be stronger than fear. But now, my daughter, now the time has come to guide our people or all will be lost." Elias stepped forward. "What do you need us to do?" The Queen's gaze shifted between them. "I name Elias Grant protector of the royal line. He will defend Virella from those who seek to destroy the peace we have built. This is my last command." The chamber erupted into whispers. Some soldiers stepped back, confused. Others looked angry, their claws flexing with tension. "You would give a human such authority?" one general hissed. Zarethi's voice grew firm. "I would. For if humanity is capable of mercy, it is capable of loyalty, and this human has proven both." Outside the palace, the rebel factions had already gathered. Their numbers were larger than expected, and their intent was clear: overthrow the queen and reclaim the throne for themselves. Elias and Saraline stood at the gates as the rebels approached. The human commander drew his rifle, while Saraline's wings extended fully, glowing faintly in the sun. "Remember," Elias said quietly, "we fight to protect life, not to conquer. They must see that we are not enemies, only defenders." Saraline nodded. "I understand." The rebels attacked, swarming through the broken streets. Plasma bolts and energy blasts lit the air, throwing shadows across the ruined towers. Elias moved with precision, his rifle taking down drone-like attackers while avoiding harm to civilians caught in the crossfire. Saraline, using her inherited royal powers, created barriers of light that deflected incoming energy and shielded the palace's remaining structures. Her movements were graceful, efficient, and deadly to those who threatened the peace. The battle was fierce, yet unlike the wars before. Humans and loyal Virellans fought side by side, forming a wall of strength and unity. Elias noticed one of the rebel leaders, a former general, trying to infiltrate the Queen's chamber. He sprinted, firing with care, and intercepted the threat before it could reach Zarethi. "You should have stayed hidden," Elias said as he disarmed the general. The Virellan snarled, "Your loyalty is a curse." "Then it's a curse I accept," Elias replied, escorting the man out of the chamber. Inside, the Queen watched the conflict with pride and fatigue. Her voice, though faint, carried over the comms to Elias. "Remember, Commander, protect not only my daughter but my vision. The kingdom is more than walls, it is unity." "I understand," Elias said firmly. Saraline joined him. "We will honor her wishes." Together they moved through the palace, coordinating the defenders and guiding those in need to safety. Their bond, born from trust, respect, and courage, became a symbol for the remaining Virellans. Soldiers who once doubted the human's loyalty now fought beside him, inspired by his calm determination. As the sun set, casting deep shadows over the battlefield, the rebels began to retreat. The Queen's loyal forces, strengthened by human guidance, held the palace and prevented the city from descending into chaos. Later, in the quiet of the royal chamber, Queen Zarethi called Elias and Saraline to her side. Her breaths were shallow, but her eyes were steady. "You have done well," she said. "But the future depends on you both." Elias knelt beside her. "We will not fail you." She reached out, touching his arm with her delicate claws. "You saved a queen, human. Now you must save a kingdom. Teach my people to trust. Teach them that peace is stronger than fear." Saraline placed her hand over her mother's. "We will, Mother. I promise." A soft glow surrounded Zarethi and her breathing slowed. She whispered words in the Virilan tongue, a blessing and a farewell. Then with the twin suns reflecting in her silver eyes, she closed them forever. Elias felt a sharp pang of loss. He had known this moment would come, yet it still hit him hard. Saraline stood silently, her wings folding inwards as tears shimmered in her glowing eyes. The palace mourned, but the city outside remained vigilant. Elias and Saraline addressed the remaining Virilan generals and soldiers. "Your queen entrusted the future to both of us," Elias said. "We honor her not with revenge but with unity. We fight not to conquer but to protect." Saraline's voice joined his, strong and clear. "Our people may have disagreed in the past, but we are stronger together." The queen believed in this alliance. Now we must carry it forward. Slowly the generals lowered their weapons. Some nodded, understanding that a new era had begun. Others were hesitant. But the determination in Elias and Saraline's eyes left no room for doubt. Together they rebuilt the bridges between factions. What began as fragile trust grew steadily, each act of cooperation strengthening the bond between human and Virilan. Days later, Elias and Saraline stood atop the palace's central spire, watching the horizon. Fires of rebellion had dimmed, and the city was alive with rebuilding efforts. Saraline spoke softly. "Do you think peace will last?" Elias glanced at her. "It will if people continue to choose it every day. Peace isn't built in a single act, it's built in small, constant decisions. And you and I, we have already made the first ones." She looked at the sky where the twin suns cast long shadows over the city. "Mother gave me life, and now she has given me responsibility. I will not fail her vision." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "You will not fail. And you will never stand alone." As the wind brushed against Saraline's wings, carrying the scent of the rebuilding city below, she felt a strange sense of calm. For the first time, she understood her mother's last command. Trust in those who fight not for power, but for life. And as the stars began to shine faintly against the darkening sky, Elias looked out across the Virilan plains and realized something profound. Humanity's greatest strength was not its weapons, nor its technology, nor its victories in battle. It was the courage to choose compassion even when the odds seemed impossible. With that courage, they had saved not just a queen, but an entire kingdom. Years had passed since the last battle on Virella. The twin suns still rose and set over the restored capital, but the scars of war had faded beneath layers of green gardens, crystal towers, and streets rebuilt by the hands of humans and Virellans alike. At the center of this transformation stood Queen Saraline, now grown into a wise and confident ruler. Her wings shimmered like silver glass, and her eyes held a calm strength that reflected her mother's legacy. She moved among her people freely, sometimes walking among them, sometimes speaking from the palace balcony. Always listening, always guiding beside her. Ever vigilant was Elias Grant, no longer just a human officer, but a trusted ambassador and protector. He had refused formal titles, though the Virilans often tried to insist he accept honors. He preferred to stand beside the queen quietly, ensuring that her vision of unity endured. Today, the city buzzed with excitement. Delegates from the human colonies had arrived for a joint festival, celebrating the alliance between humanity and the Virilan people. Music from both worlds filled the streets, alien instruments blending with human compositions. Children of mixed heritage ran freely, their laughter a testament to a new era of understanding. Saraline stood on the balcony, looking down at the gathering crowd. She felt a mixture of pride and responsibility. This festival was more than celebration. It was proof that her mother's last command had been honored. That trust and mercy could span across worlds. "Are you nervous?" Elias asked quietly as he joined her. "Always," she admitted. "Leadership carries weight, and sometimes the weight feels heavier than the sky itself." He smiled. "You've carried it well so far. Look at this city. Look at these people. They trust you because you've earned it, not because of blood or tradition. Saraline turned to him, her expression softening. And you? Have you earned their trust too? I hope so, he said, glancing at the mixed crowd below. I've done nothing but follow your mother's guidance. And yours? A group of young Virellans ran past, waving tiny human and Virellan flags. One shouted, Queen Saraline! Queen Saraline! She smiled and waved, feeling the warmth of their voices. Elias stood beside her silently as he always did, watching and protecting, ready for whatever might come. As the day continued, Saraline and Elias walked among the delegates, explaining Virellan customs to human leaders and human technologies to Virellan officials. Discussions that might once have been tense now flowed with cooperation and curiosity. Later, during the evening ceremony, Saraline addressed both worlds. Her voice echoed clearly across the palace plaza. People of Virella, people of humanity, she began. We are here today not just to celebrate peace but to honor it. The bond between our worlds began with trust, with understanding, and with a single act of courage. It was not won by weapons or power but by mercy. And mercy is stronger than any army. The crowd erupted in applause. Humans and Virellans alike cheered, some stepping forward to touch the banners symbolizing unity. Saraline's eyes found Elias in the crowd. He gave a small nod, acknowledging her words without drawing attention. It had been years since that first rescue, and their partnership had grown into something deeper than duty. Yet neither had crossed the boundary of formality, not out of distance but out of mutual respect. After the festival, as night fell and the twin moons rose, Saraline and Elias walked to the palace gardens. Bioluminescent flowers glowed softly, lighting the pathways in gentle blues and purples. The air was warm and calm, a far cry from the chaos of the battlefield where they had first met. You've done it, Elias said quietly. Your mother would be proud. Saraline looked up at the sky. I hope so. I still feel the weight of her last command every day. Protect the people, maintain the peace. Guide two worlds. Sometimes it feels impossible. Elias smiled. Nothing worth doing is ever easy. But you've shown the galaxy what humans and Virellans can accomplish together. You've proven that trust can overcome fear. Saraline turned to him. I couldn't have done it without you. You've been here through every step, through the battles, the council disputes, and even the quiet nights of doubt. I only followed the example set by your mother. Elias replied. She trusted me even when it seemed foolish. You trusted me too. That was enough. For a long moment they stood in silence, the soft glow of the gardens reflecting in their eyes. Months later, Saraline began teaching young Virellans and human children together. Her classrooms were filled with laughter, curiosity, and the soft hum of blended cultures. Children learned both human history and Virellan science, while adults studied diplomacy and compromise. Elias often sat quietly in the corner of the classrooms, observing and offering guidance when needed. Children would sometimes run to him with questions, and he answered patiently, always careful to encourage their curiosity. One day, a small child tugged at Saraline's cloak. Queen Saraline, the child said, my mother says humans are dangerous, but you trust them. Why? Saraline smiled, kneeling to meet the child's eyes. Because some humans, like Commander Elias here, choose to protect life, not destroy it. Trust is earned, and I have seen it given with courage and kindness. That is why I trust them. Elias gave a small nod, proud yet humble. And remember, he added softly, trust is something you must give carefully but also freely. It's a gift and it grows when shared. The child's eyes widened and a small smile appeared. Saraline ruffled the child's hair. One day you will help teach others the same lesson. Years went by. The alliance between humanity and Virella strengthened. Colonies flourished and trade expanded. Saraline became known not only as a queen but as a symbol of unity, bridging two worlds once divided by fear and war. Elias, though never a ruler, became a living legend among both humans and Virellans. His name was whispered in stories told to children, always alongside Saraline's. A tale of courage, mercy, and trust. One evening, as the twin moons rose over the palace, Saraline and Elias stood on the balcony, looking out at the city. You know, she said softly, for a long time, I thought I had to choose between my people and my heart. But now I realize, peace is a choice we make together. Elias looked at her, the weight of years behind him, and nodded. You've made the right choice. You didn't just honor your mother. You honored everyone who believed in mercy and trust. Saraline smiled faintly. And you? Have you found peace, Elias Grant? He smiled in return. I have. Because I see what humans can become when we follow our better selves. And because I've seen the courage of someone like you, who reminds us all that life is worth protecting no matter the cost. They stood in silence, letting the city hum below them, the gardens glowing softly. In that quiet, both knew the truth. The greatest victory of humankind was not in war or technology, but in the courage to act with compassion when it mattered most. The galaxy beyond still held challenges, mysteries, and dangers. But for the first time, two worlds were united, not through force, but through trust, understanding, and the quiet heroism of one human soldier and one alien princess. And in the years to come, the story of Elias Grant and Queen Saraline would inspire countless others, a tale of courage, mercy, and the truth that sometimes the smallest act of kindness could change the fate of entire civilizations.